Saturday session, the Southern California rock band Dawes. They have toured with Dylan, collaborated with Elvis Costello, and are one of the most respected live bands around.
They'll perform in a moment, but first here's my conversation with Dawes lead singer Taylor Goldsmith. Where do you think your biggest songwriting influence came from early on? Because there's an epic quality to a lot of your lyrics. You're reaching for something big.
Well, I think at first songs were sort of the vehicle for which allowed me to be on a stage,
yeah,
and get to hold a guitar and get to sing.
For as long as he can remember, 31-year-old Taylor Goldsmith has wanted to be on stage playing music.
Growing up, like even finding all those notes that you write in first grade to your future self of like what you want to be when you grow up, it was always music.
His education started at home, listening to Beatles records with his younger brother Griffin and their father in Los Angeles. With Taylor on guitar and Griffin on drums, the Goldsmiths now make their own records in Dawes. Their 2009 debut, North Hills, immediately drew comparisons to the Laurel Canyon sound of the 1970s.
I mean, I was really struck the first time I heard you guys, because I heard it right away.
Yeah.
I grew up with it. But what took you there?
I think for us it was something in the water or something in California, because it was really a happy accident. And then as we were finishing that first record, a lot of people were like, "Oh, you sound like this 70s California band." I was like, "Oh, really? What are California like artists like from the 70s?" And they were like, "Oh, you know, you like Joni and Neil and you know, you dig Jackson Browne." I was like, "Oh, I've heard of him. I need to check him out."
Years later, in a musical twist of fate, Dawes would go on to influence Brown's most recent studio album. I spoke to him about that in 2014.
It's funny because they refer to Dawes as retro, you know, but I think it's because there's no real term for what they're doing. Never has been any term for excellence.
Taylor Goldsmith has become a sought-after musician for other top artists, doing high-profile collaborations like 2014's New Basement tapes with Marcus Mumford, Elvis Costello, Jim James, and Rhiannon Giddens.
What does that bring to the equation musically in terms when you have collaborations like this?
They come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's funny that I've ended up in so many side projects, because I've always looked at any song that I write as a Dawes song. But it does inform our process and it inspires us.
With their just-released fifth album, We're All Gonna Die, Dawes is breathing new life into their classic Southern California sound.
You guys have gone on a markedly different direction here.
It's funny because it didn't feel like that at the time.
To produce the album, Taylor Goldsmith reconnected with his junior high school friend Blake Mills. Mills, who's also produced for Alabama Shakes, had played in the first version of the band, named Simon Dawes.
When you make a turn, like you did in the studio this time with Blake, is that scary in any way in terms of what it might mean to your audience?
All right.
Yeah, but weirdly I feel reinforced by that. The kind of fans that I want is the kind of fan that I am, which when I subscribe to an artist, I'm yours. I'm on board, and if you want to make weirder records or different records, like I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna dig for what I love about it.
Right.
And
you're on board for the journey.
Yeah, and it's really rewarding when you are.